Thank you. Good morning to everybody. We have, at the European level, we have a lot of common policies with the ones just presented by the Secretary General of the Ministry. I will try to put this energy security dilemma into a longer-term perspective, because we have short-term challenges, as the Secretary General just described from last month, but the solutions have to be compatible with the long-term perspective. And we see the energy security as a triangle. It's a triangle that includes diversification, regional cooperation, and lowering demand through energy efficiency. So we need to act in each part through this, look at this triangle and the balancing act between diversification, cooperation with the regions, and lowering demand. In the long term, we have to decarbonize our energy mix. This is a given now, accepted by everybody. Everybody in Europe, everybody globally, developed countries, non-developed countries. We have to move to a low-carbon economy. And we have, in the medium term, which we call something until 2050, where there is a certain energy mix, and below 2050, where the energy mix will be completely low carbon. So gas, let's look at gas. Gas is a fossil fuel. So many people in Europe, including all the NGOs, they accuse Europe for focusing a lot on gas. NGOs are telling us you shouldn't invest in gas at all because, you know, it's a fossil fuel and it has to completely disappear. We disagree. Demand and investment in gas in the medium term, in the next 30 to 40 years, will be very important. Sources of gas in Europe are declining very fast, and therefore, up until 2050 and longer, we need to import more gas than we import now, even if, let's say, gas overall might, gas demand, as we know it today, might decline. So gas is an important component of our energy security in Europe. It is a good backup system to renewables, which has to be our primary energy source, and it is a good, let's say, way to plan ahead by having a certain part of gas in our energy mix. And gas then is, in our strategy, it has two components. LNG, which is increasingly becoming the reference point for setting prices in the gas market. It is increasingly diversified in its origin. We have already in the last few years imports from Australia, from the US. So LNG is an important component of our strategy, but of course new sources and new routes for fixed gas, let's say, transmission, and that's where, let's say, the East Med plays an important role. All the projects that are of strategic interest to Greece are projects of common interest. So we do not have at the policy level a disagreement. All the PCIs in the gas sector are financed by the community budget for studies depending on their level of, let's say, development, and the ones that are into implementation like TAP and TANAP are financed also through the European Investment Bank and other sources, and therefore we do not have a gap as we have in other areas and in other sectors around gas. But regional cooperation is an important component. It's not an extra. It is an important component in, as we have seen, around an initiative on CESEC, on BEMIP, on the southern Western Europe. We need to integrate the regional cooperation and the interconnection with our, let's say, neighbors as part of our equation. It's not an extra. Energy security, I will make a personal comment, is a bit like defense. It costs. It's expensive. That's why at the European level now we make a defense initiative to try to pull resources together in order to make defense not only more efficient but also more effective. The second is, the same things is around electricity. in electricity, we also have to look at this triangle. I mean, we have to assess risk on a regional basis. We need regional cooperation in electricity markets. We cannot have a situation where this winter, and it's not only in this part of Europe that we had the problems, we had problems in France, in Italy. We cannot have national decisions, close the borders. Bulgaria closed the border without any, to exports of electricity without any announcement to FIROM. They remained completely isolated, not look only what happened in Greece. So the countries have to have, when it comes to risk, security, and regional cooperation, they have to have common methods of assessing the risks. They have to prepare for crisis together and not in an isolated way. And they have to have specific ways to engage on how to deal with crisis. So regional cooperation is very important in the electricity market. I think a lot of people ask me about financing. In this area is not an area that we have significant financing problems. You know, it's abundance of financing on the European Fund of Strategic Investments. More than 1/3 of the investments made so far out of 170 billion that have been investments that have been stimulated by the European Fund for Strategic Investments. More than 1/3 is in the energy sector. The EIB, European Investment Bank, provides substantial financing in the energy sector. So I'm happy to answer questions on the financing after, but let's say there is, at this moment, looking on how to finance this energy transition in a cost-effective way and have projects that have long-term perspectives is the most important challenge. I will stop here and I will hope we have a discussion. Thank you.